Ladies and gentlemen, you ever seen someone who don't need to say a word to command a room? That's her. She moves in silence. Not because she's weak, not because she's unsure. She moves in silence because heaven already heard her cry, because the war's already won. You see, when God fights for you, you don't waste breath trying to explain yourself to people who were never meant to understand your assignment. You don't argue. You don't beg. You don't chase. She walks like she's covered because she is. Favor on her life like armor. She ain't loud, but she's loaded. Loaded with grace, with purpose, with vision. There's a certain peace that comes when you realize you're not fighting alone. That behind the closed doors, when it's just her and God, that's where strategies are whispered. That's where strength is built. That's where battles are handed over to the one who never lost a fight. And let me tell you something. The world might not see her coming. They might underestimate her, try to size her up, try to write her off. But when God fights for you, you ain't got to prove nothing. Your fruit will speak, your walk will speak, your wins will speak. She ain't looking for the stage because her story is being written in the quiet. When the time is right, she won't need to knock on no doors. God will open them wide. So don't mistake her silence for absence. Don't confuse her stillness with stagnation. She's moving quietly, steadily, divinely, because she knows the truth. Victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it walks in silence, knowing it's already done. And that's why she moves like she does. Because she ain't fighting, God is. There's a strength that doesn't need to be shouted from rooftops. It doesn't demand attention, applause, or recognition. It just is. Silent strength is the kind that holds firm in the storm without needing to prove its power. It doesn't flinch when things go wrong. It doesn't crumble when the pressure is on. It's rooted so deep that no wind can shake it and no noise can distract it. She carries that kind of strength, the kind that moves with intention, speaks with purpose, and acts only when necessary. You won't find her broadcasting her battles or advertising her growth. She doesn't need to. Her strength isn't for display, it's for endurance. In a world that rewards noise, her quiet becomes radical. She chooses to hold her peace, not because she has nothing to say, but because not everything deserves her voice. Her restraint is not weakness, it's wisdom. Her silence isn't absence, it's alignment. She understands that power doesn't always come in loud expressions. Sometimes it comes in being still and knowing. Sometimes it's found in walking away, letting go, holding on, and rising up without a word. She's not interested in performing strength. She lives it. In the early mornings where no one sees her tears, in the late nights where she chooses prayer over panic, in the everyday moments where she carries burdens with grace and keeps moving forward. It's not that she doesn't feel fear or doubt. She just refuses to be ruled by them. Her strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about being unshakable. And that strength, it didn't come overnight. It came from every trial she survived, every lesson she learned, and every time she let God do what only He could. She's not loud, but she's steady. Not flashy, but faithful. That's the power of silent strength. There's a different kind of confidence that comes when you know you're not walking alone. It's the quiet boldness of someone who understands that heaven is backing them up. She doesn't have to force her way into spaces because she knows if she's meant to be there, God will make room. Divine backing means every step she takes is guided, every door she walks through is ordered, and every delay has a purpose. She doesn't panic when things don't go her way because she knows God's way is better. She's learned to trust that there's a hand on her life that moves even when she can't see it, a plan unfolding even when the pieces don't make sense yet. When others are scrambling for validation, she rests in assurance. She knows she's covered, not just protected, but equipped. Divine backing means she doesn't have to fight every battle. Some of them are already being handled in realms she can't see. That's why she can smile through uncertainty, why she can hold her peace when chaos is pressing in. It's not naivety, it's not pride, it's faith. It's the calm that comes from knowing that God is not just watching, He's working. And when God works, things move, mountains shift, hearts change, paths open. People may question her pace, her silence, her strategy, but they don't know the one she answers to. She doesn't move on impulse. She moves on instruction. And when God says move, she moves. When he says wait, she waits. Divine backing doesn't always come with signs and wonders in the moment. It comes with peace in the middle of uncertainty, strength in the waiting, and favor that doesn't make sense. That's the power behind her stillness. That's what keeps her grounded. She knows who's fighting for her, and that changes everything. She's walked through enough to know that opinions don't define her. People will talk, criticize, praise, misunderstand, applaud. None of it moves her. She's not building her life on the shifting ground of public opinion. She's grounded in something deeper, something eternal. Her worth doesn't rise and fall with someone else's perception. She doesn't chase approval because she knows she already has the only validation that matters. When you know who you are in God, you stop seeking identity in the crowd. You stop shrinking to fit their comfort and stop stretching to meet their expectations. It's not that she doesn't hear the opinions. It's that she's learned not to absorb them. She's not reckless, but she's free. Free from the weight of needing to please everyone. Free from the fear of disappointing people who were never called to understand her journey in the first place. She's moved past trying to explain her process to people who weren't in the room when God gave her the vision. And that freedom, it didn't come easy. It came from experience, from rejection, from learning that peace is too expensive to trade for popularity. She's been overlooked, underestimated, talked about, and misunderstood. And she's still standing, stronger, clearer, unshaken. She's not moved by the noise anymore because her foundation isn't in people. It's in purpose. When your direction comes from above, the opinions around you lose their grip. She listens for God's voice, not the crowd's volume. Her silence isn't passive, it's powerful. She chooses not to respond to every critic, not because she can't, but because she doesn't have to. Her life speaks for her. Her consistency proves her. Her fruit answers the questions. She's not here to please people. She's here to walk in purpose. And when you're rooted like that, no opinion can shake you. She's not here for the show. She's not performing for claps, likes, or applause. Every move she makes is rooted in something deeper than performance. It's purpose. There's a difference between doing things to be seen and doing things because you're sent. She knows that. She doesn't need the spotlight to feel significant. Her work, her walk, her wins, they come from obedience, not optics. She's not driven by the pressure to impress, but by the quiet conviction to impact. And that kind of focus, it sets her apart. It keeps her grounded when others are chasing trends or tailoring themselves to fit into what's popular. Purpose doesn't always look flashy. Sometimes it looks like faithfulness behind the scenes. Sometimes it's in the unseen effort, the hidden sacrifices, the daily discipline that no one claps for. But she doesn't need an audience to stay consistent because her reward isn't in the reaction, it's in the mission. She understands that God didn't call her to perform, he called her to walk in purpose. And when you walk in purpose, you can move slow, quiet, even unnoticed, and still be effective. The world teaches people to chase visibility, to prove their worth through performance. But she's not playing that game. She's not building a brand, she's building legacy. She's not working for applause, she's working for alignment. That means she doesn't bend her identity to match the moment. She doesn't water down her truth to keep the peace. She doesn't rush to prove she's relevant. Purpose has taught her patience. It's taught her to move with intention, to speak when it's time, and to stand firm when she's called. There's a weight to her silence, a clarity in her presence, because everything she does flows from purpose. Not pressure, not performance, just purpose. Some of the most powerful decisions she's made came in the quiet, not in chaos, not in noise, but in stillness, where the distractions fade and discernment rises. She's learned that silence is not emptiness. It's a sacred space where clarity lives. In the quiet, she doesn't just hear her own thoughts. She hears God's direction. She listens deeper. She sees clearer. While the world rushes to speak, to act, to react, she slows down. She pauses. She waits for wisdom. Because she knows that moving fast without discernment leads to detours she can't afford. Discernment is her compass, and quiet is where it sharpens. Not everything deserves her energy. Not every invitation is meant to be accepted. Not every open door is from God. And it's in the still moments where she can separate the good from the God-ordained. The quiet teaches her how to sense motives, how to read situations beyond the surface, how to protect her peace without explanation. She doesn't need to fight every battle, respond to every voice, or follow every trend. She moves with insight, not impulse. It's not always easy. Silence can feel heavy. Waiting can feel like delay. But she's discovered that wisdom often whispers, and if she's too distracted by noise, she'll miss it. So she honors the quiet seasons. She doesn't rush out of them, she leans in, because that's where she's grown. That's where her vision has been refined. That's where her next steps have been revealed. In the quiet, she's not passive, she's perceiving. And what she gains in that space allows her to move with confidence when it's time. Discernment doesn't always shout. Sometimes it shows up as a gentle nudge, a still voice, a quiet knowing. And she's tuned in. She knows the difference. That's how she moves so sure, even when she moves in silence. She's not afraid of the shadows. In fact, that's where she's been shaped the most. While others chase the spotlight, she's found her strength in the unseen places. The seasons where no one was watching, no one was cheering, and no one was checking in, those were the moments where grace met her the deepest. In the shadows, there's no pressure to perform, no need to pretend. Just raw faith, real struggle, and divine grace. She learned to lean not on her own understanding, but on a presence that never left her side. The grace that held her in the silence, carried her in the waiting, and comforted her in the breaking. She doesn't resent those hidden seasons anymore. She reveres them, because they proved something to her, that she can grow even when no one's applauding, that she can heal even when no one sees the wounds, that she can be kept, covered, and cultivated out of sight. Grace in the shadows doesn't just sustain, it transforms. It teaches her to release what she can't control, to surrender what she doesn't understand, and to trust that what's unseen isn't unimportant. God doesn't waste the dark. He uses it to refine, to rebuild, to reveal. Now when she moves with quiet confidence, not because she came from a stage, but because she came through the shadows with grace. She carries a peace that confuses people, a strength they didn't see developing, a glow they can't quite explain. That's what happens when you let God work in the hidden places. She walks differently because she knows what it took to stand. She speaks differently because she knows the silence she had to survive. Grace didn't just meet her in the light, it carried her through the shadows. And that's why she shines without making noise. She doesn't run on hype, she runs on faith. That quiet, unshakable belief that even when the road is unclear, the destination is still sure. Faith is her fuel. It's what keeps her going when logic says stop. It's what pushes her forward when everything around her says stay still. She doesn't always know how it'll work out, but she knows who's working it out. And that knowing, that's enough. Faith taught her to move even when she's afraid, to trust even when she's tired, and to speak life even when the situation looks dead. It's not about having all the answers. It's about knowing the source. She's walked through uncertainty, carried unanswered prayers, and faced closed doors. But through it all, she's held on to faith like an anchor. Because when everything else shifts, faith stays. It reminds her that her steps are ordered, even when they feel uncertain. That her tears are counted, even when they fall in silence. That her story is still unfolding, even when she feels stuck in a chapter she didn't ask for. People wonder how she stays steady, how she keeps showing up, how she still has peace in the middle of pressure. It's faith. Not loud, not flashy, but deep and rooted. She's not trying to force outcomes. She's trusting timing. She's not hustling for worth. She's walking in it. Faith keeps her eyes lifted when her surroundings say, lower your head. It fuels her resilience, her patience, her fire. And because of it, she doesn't have to see the whole path to take the next step. That's the power of walking by faith. She knows if God said it, He'll do it. If He started it, He'll finish it. Faith doesn't just move her, it sustains her. It's her rhythm, it's her power, It's her fuel. She walks like she's already won because in her spirit, she has. Victory isn't a maybe, it's a promise. It's not about arrogance, it's about assurance. She knows who's fighting for her, and that changes how she moves. She's not shaken by setbacks or delays because she understands that detours don't cancel destiny. Even in the waiting, even in the struggle, she holds her head high. Not because the battle is easy, but because the outcome is already decided. God doesn't lose. And when He's the one leading her steps, defeat simply isn't part of the story. She's faced storms that could have drowned her, fire that could have consumed her, trials that could have broken her, but they didn't. Because victory was always woven into the process. The enemy may try to distract her, delay her, discourage her, but he can't destroy what God has declared over her life. Every time she rises again, every time she prays instead of panics, every time she chooses faith over fear, she's walking in victory. Even when it doesn't look like it on the outside, she knows something is shifting on the inside. Heaven backs her, grace surrounds her, purpose drives her. She doesn't need to broadcast her wins because her endurance already speaks. Her peace is proof. Her joy is evidence. She knows that battles don't break her, they build her. And through it all, she's learning how to war in the spirit, how to stand in silence, and how to move with boldness. Victory is not just an event at the end of her journey, it's a mindset she carries in every step. The fight may be long, the path may be rough, but the victory is inevitable. Not because of her strength, but because of the one who fights for her.